All right, Brooke here again with some more things about health. Next time, I'm going to tell you a lot of wonderful health tips. And today, I am going to deal with the challenges that we have. I feel like it's really important to offer you positive things, and also it's positive in a certain way to let you know what's happening, to help you be aware, because we can't change anything we're not aware of. And we need to take responsibility. Certainly, I feel like I need to be responsible to talk to you about these things so you have some sense of what's going on. And I want you to know that I've spent hundreds and hundreds of hours over years looking at these issues, and again and again and again, looking at all sides of the picture, everything I can look at, just like any good researcher, and been willing to hear everyone. And this is what I've understood out of it. And especially now, as we're looking back and there's more investigation about what's been going on, we're starting to see much more clearly what has happened. And the thing that's sad is that this stuff is happening. I mean, it's really hard on our hearts, not even our minds, but our hearts, to understand that there are sometimes agendas that are not helpful to us. And sadly, a lot of the medical system doesn't seem to have our wellness in mind. And what seems to be the case is that making money for the big corporations is the goal. And those pharmaceutical companies, pesticide companies, are some of the biggest in the world and incredibly influential in what happens in our lives. And only we and our awareness can make a difference in that. So I'm just going to jump in and get deep with you. And I know that we can do this. I know that our awareness and our love and our caring can turn things around in a way that really makes a difference. Because the thing that you need to realize is that, you know, we in America think we have a good health system, but when you travel around the world like I do, you see that there are so much healthier people, so much better systems, so much cheaper pharmaceuticals when people use them, so many alternative ways and healthful and natural ways of doing things that we're not using. And, you know, the statistics show that American health is way, 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 way down the line. And in, I think, many of the modern countries, that happens to be the case. So it's really time that we look at this and make some different choices and see what we can create that's really beautiful. So I'm just going to jump in here. After World War II, there were all the chemicals and all the things that had been developed for the warring, and those big companies needed to do something with them. So they decided to turn them into things that could be used in daily life. And of course, some of that turned into pesticides and, you know, chemical fertilizers and all those things. And the media they put out talked about the green revolution. We're going to feed the world. And in fact, what has happened is that those kind of things that were offered have killed the soil. It's killing life at every level and stunting production. It's not made more production. And it certainly hasn't made healthier food, which is what we really need. And early on, the pharmaceutical companies and the fertilizer companies and pesticides produced enormous lobbies. I don't know, it's in the billions of dollars they spend lobbying and getting their point across and supporting candidates who will agree with them and work with them. And also, they have gotten into the universities in the sense that they pay for a lot of the research. A lot of the big labs that are around that do health research, medical research, are paid for by them. And if they don't like the studies that are being done, if they show anything negative about their products or their way of doing things, they don't fund those things. I mean, it makes sense as a company, I guess, you know, but it's not good for us, for sure. And so all the research and all of that. And the other thing that's going on is these incredible conflicts of interest, because they pay and give goodies and prizes and trips and vacations and support of all kinds to medical doctors who are willing to use their products and support their products. And so it gets very bizarre. So the training of our medical people now, the research, the support, and some of these, one of the things that happens is that our medical schooling is so expensive that doctors need to make a lot of money. And then also we seem to have put them on a pedestal and they think they need to live a very high lifestyle, which is different in other countries. It's very interesting to go in other countries and see that doctors aren't held on some pedestal. They are people that serve. They're healers and helpers and servers rather than someone put on a pedestal. So it's very interesting and different here. And a lot of it doesn't serve us well, and it doesn't serve our health well. And one of the other things that's important to know is that Monsanto, Bayer, Pfizer, and many of these companies are a big complex of intertwined companies. And many of them are outside the United States that take a lot of our money that's spent on health, which is an enormous amount. They take it outside of our country. And so it's very weird because Monsanto has now been bought by its pal Bayer, and Roundup and all of those kind of things that have been damaging our lives are now under another name, and even more damaging kind of chemicals are coming out of Bayer. And so it's like Monsanto and Bayer create the poisons, create the toxins. And a lot of the cancer used to take place in the northeast of the United States. And that was because of the industrial population and all of that, and a lot of toxins and things. Well, now there's something they call Cancer Alley, and that's the whole Mississippi, all of the farming country, our middle part of our United States, all of that farming country that uses all of those sprays comes into the water, all of it down to New Orleans, and the cancer rate there is over the top. And they're understanding why, because of the kind of pesticides that are there, the kind of chemicals, the kind of toxins that gather and gather and gather. And by the time it gets to New Orleans, it's absolutely stunningly bad. So Cancer Alley, a lot of cancer and a lot of challenges are coming to us. And then, da-da, Pfizer owns all of the patents for chemotherapy and all of the kind of drug processes that we use to deal with cancer. So it's this intertwined complex that's really bizarre in so many ways. And sadly, I don't feel they have our interest in mind. And another way to look at it is legally. In many, many countries, it would be an incredible conflict of interest for medical doctors, for people who consider themselves healers, to be taking money from companies to advertise their products and promote their products in their offices. And even the government lobbies, a lot of that is not allowed in other countries. And, we're really affected by, and we've seen it in the last few years, especially by the fact that in some way, the big pharmacies pulled strings with the government and ended up getting to be unable to be sued. The pharmacies are unable to be sued for any damage that happens because of their products. And I'm stunned at that. I'm just totally stunned at that. And I guess they went to the government and said, we can't develop any new drugs if we have to prove they're safe. We're losing money. And so the government said, oh gosh, yes, we need to have you develop things. And so they are totally off the board for being sued for any of this kind of thing, which is absolutely not okay. Everyone should be responsible for what they do and what they put out. And one of the things that I'm aware of that shocks me, I don't have children, but I talk to other people, and I think I'm right on this. They say that by the time some of these children are a few months or a couple of years old, they have had 50 shots of some kind of chemicals put into their bodies to keep them safe. And these babies that are being born now have like 282 toxins in their blood when they are born. And then we throw more at them. And so we wonder why our children aren't healthy and strong. And so we really need to look at all these things and see what's really going on. And remember what I've talked about as far as health. When we get healthy is when we cast off, whether it's viruses or colds or whatever it might be. When we're healthy and strong, when our mitochondria are fed, when our stem cells are active, that's when we're healthy, not when we dose ourselves again and again and again and again with some kind of chemicals from people who have no responsibility with what happens when those chemicals go into our bodies. And there have been some really sad and damaging things with children and now with people all over the world. So another thing to pay attention to is that US is only one of 2 countries that allow all these pharmaceutical ads on TV. I mean, it's really amazing that that's what we do. And the interesting thing is that in some way, that's not even about sales, because they've already got the doctors and everyone giving all of those. And, you know, the whole setup is using their system. But the idea is that they put so much money into the media, into TV stations and others, that if they were to withdraw that money, the TV stations and a lot of the media would have a really hard time. And so in effect, it's not even about sales, but about controlling what goes out. And I know a lot of people in the TV industry and in the news industry, and they say if things don't meet certain guidelines that the big companies that pay them so much, if they don't meet their standards, you can't put it out. It doesn't matter how good the story is, how true it is, how important it is, you cannot put it out. It gets shut down by the editorial staffs. So all of those things are happening that control our way of thinking, that limit our possibilities. So it's another thing that we need to think about. It's like that kind of thing. I mean, what would be different if we could stop that? And another thing that's gone on, and there are psychological proofs about this now, is that the fear-mongering, the always thinking, oh my God, something terrible is going to happen, the whole world's going to die, everything's, oh my God. And the only thing you can do to be well is to use one of our chemicals. Yes. And so what happens in that kind of situation is it affects our brain and our hippocampus. When our hippocampus, a part of our brain, gets all of this kind of energy coming in, it shuts down in certain ways. And that hippocampus is where we have rational thinking, decision-making, creativity, individuality, awareness and wakefulness in many ways. And so when that fear comes in and gets so strong, it makes you malleable. It's what I call the creation of sheep. I'll do anything you want. I'll do anything you want. Just help me. So that kind of fear-mongering is something else we need to look at. And to me, that's what should be eliminated from our TV. Rational, sensible, true, well-researched, well-done kind of research and stories should come out, but not this kind of fear-mongering that really challenges us. And so again and again and again and again and again and again, our lives are impacted at the deepest possible level by these things. You know, people were willing to accept untested drugs, to literally change their DNA, to have stuff put inside their gene structure that was untested. To me, that was like, whoa, wow, that's pretty scary stuff. I wanted to look and see deeper than that before I checked that out. And my approach to all of it was get healthy and stay healthy. And I've never been bothered by any of the things that other people have been bothered by. But after all of that, and after the few years that we've been dealing with all of these things, there's an incredible jump in Alzheimer's, because Alzheimer's is affected by the memory and the hippocampus. There are younger deaths, enormous amounts of younger deaths than we thought, around health issues, myocardia and other things, especially young, healthy men. We're having so much more death around that. Reproductive damage. I think that many of the children will not be able to have, they won't be fertile. There's going to be damage to their whole reproductive system. And the nervous system and psychological changes, there have been so much where people's personalities have changed, and anger and conflict and all of these things have come up, especially in younger people, as I have done my research. And sadly, turbo cancers are coming up around all of what's been happening in the past. Things that just stun doctors. They've never seen anything like this before than the last couple of years. So there's so much going on and so many challenges. And one of the things is this whole complex of healthcare, the medical system, literally feels like it could bankrupt our country, certainly bankrupt our health system, because there are things going on. And there's another campaign going on now that I want to warn you about. And it's for something called Ozempic. And there's also something called Wegovy. And those are being used now to lose weight. They say, take a pill and you can lose 20 pounds. Oh, no, it's not about what you eat. It's not about the fact that you don't exercise. It's not your fault. You just take a pill, honey, and you'll be fine. And people are buying it. We're that kind of culture where we say, oh, good, a pill. I don't have to be responsible. I don't have to do anything. I just get to lose 20 pounds or more. And what you need to know is that these things, Ozempic, I need you to hear that and put it in your mind. Those things were not approved for general or long-term use. They have very specific use in diabetic and other very challenging cases. But what they do to help you lose weight is they shut down your stomach function. And even when people go off of them, which many people are doing in a few months, they have damage to their stomach that is a challenge over enormous amounts of time. So take a look. The thing to do is really do some research. Look deeper than the surface media. You know who owns the media. You know who's putting that out. And you know the kind of energy that's created through that. So really take a look at these things. I know it's not easy. There's so much out there, but you can find it. And I think it's vitally important that you look deeper than just the surface of the advertising. And it's really good to question yourself, and all of us question ourselves about, well, I could take a pill and fix it. And that's so handy. And we're in lives that are incredibly stressed and busy. It's like, change my diet. I'll, get more exercise, I'll just take a pill. And that needs to change, because that is absolutely not working for us. Our health is going down the drain through all of that. So all of these things are things I wanted to talk to you about. And, I think we need to, in a sense, we're talking about saving our lives. We're talking about, and not just our physical life, hanging on to, life, but our aliveness, our joy, our happiness, our creativity, our individuality, all of that, to save that. And also, to make our country strong. When we are a weak, sickly people, which we are getting to be in America, and I know there are people around the world listening, I'm addressing America, but it probably echoes into your lives as well. When we're weak, we are weak. And when I travel around the world, hear a lot of people, it used to be America's so great, and now they're going, yeah, America's pretty crazy. America's getting weak. People, they're doing crazy things there, and they're not healthy. And, I just hear that kind of thing. That's not what we want to have. That's not what we want to be true. And that's not what we want other people to think of us. So, we can change things. And some of the ways we can change things is through elections. And we have elections coming up. And very likely, Trump may be one of our candidates. And I don't get a deep sense that he cares about health and the environment. I haven't seen anything to say that he was. And one of the things that's very sad to me is that when I looked into who had supported the candidates and literally who elected them by putting enormous amounts of money in, And when I looked at Biden, most of his election money came from the big pharmacy companies. And that to me was very, 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 very sad. And so those kind of things influence everything. And now we have an independent candidate, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., and he's trying to speak up, trying to make a difference in all of this around how the pharmacies deal, conflict of interest, and all of that kind of thing. So there's a lot of possibility out there. And I hope that when you vote, you look really deeply at what the possibilities are and look at where the money's coming from that supports all of these people. It's going to be a wild event, but I hope you take a really deep look and look at what's really going on before you vote. So what we're about is really stopping the damaging health practices that are not healthy for us and returning to simple things like regenerative farming and, using more natural means, more simple means. There are things that we can do, taking care of everything from the mycelia in the ground to the top of the redwoods, from inside us out. And one of the things we can do is get the chemical junk out from under our sinks, out from under our bathroom sinks and our garages and all of that. You take a look at what's there and look up the chemicals that are in them and realize that there are articles and books out there about how to use simple household things, certainly for your household, like lemon and vinegar. You can clean practically anything with those. And so to get rid of those things, and then the question is like, what do I do with them? If there's a horrible one, I pour them in something. It's like, yeah. But really think about this, because right at under your own sink is where you can begin. And also in your laundry room, because the neon cottonides that are in dryer sheets and all of these things that make things smell good, all of them are toxic chemicals. And they're going out of your dryer into the air and killing the insects. And I'm really sad this spring because there are very few insects and almost no little songbirds who live from the insects singing in our lives now. So there's a lot going on. But if we can begin to pay attention, if we can begin to be aware, I guess we can just go, oh, well, whatever. I guess we're going to end up being extinct here before long, but we'll just enjoy it while we can. I just can't believe that that would be the case for most of you. Most of you care more than that, but you need to wake up at some levels and be willing to put some energy into making change. And I know we can do this. I know we can change things around and create health and choose health in our lives. And we need to wake up and be aware and choose. As this arising feminine time comes, the Great Mother is pushing up all the things that don't work, all of that nasty, rotten, junky, unhealthy, all of that kind of thing is being pushed up and saying, here you go. See, this is what's real. What are you going to choose? And if we turn our head and go, oh, I don't want to see that, and keep doing what we're doing, then that's our choice. And a lot of these people that are incredibly smart, they're paying attention. The big corporations and others are paying good attention. The World Health Organization, and many people are paying attention to the fact that, like my elders say, we could be extinct as a human family in 20 years or so, unless we change things around. And their answer to it is depopulation. Stopping the reproduction of people and depopulating, which is a very nice way for saying, you know what, get rid of people in any way possible, so that then a few people, of course, their pals, would then be able to stay on Earth and continue the human race. So there's a lot of big and heavy stuff going on, and we're all involved in it. We all need to do our part. So I'll get off of my soapbox, but I know that we can do this, but it's going to take us speaking up and standing up for life. And I invite you to do that.